everybody, this is Nash from the Direction You Empowerment Dynasty, and you're listening to the Unapologetic Woman Podcast, the show for female leaders who love to live their legacies unleashed, unlimited, and unafraid. If this is a community you would like to be part of, visit directionu.co/unapologetic. Today, we're talking about the power of women and what that has to do with style with the incredible Annette Bond. The CEO and founder of Definitive Style, Annette is committed and excited to help women create a signature wardrobe that makes it feel so good to be you, dress with intention, choose colors and styles that are in complete alignment with your personality, and feeling absolutely confident in your clothes, shoes, and accessories. Annette combines her 30 years of style and image expertise as a certified image consultant and more alive with color expert. She is one of only 50 women in the US certified in the niche fashion feng shui. She also brings her professional background in marketing and communications. What brings Annette the most joy is watching the women she works with look in the mirror and love what they see. Thanks so much for joining us. This is Annette Bond. I don't know quite where to start with you, because when I first saw you, I think it was on LinkedIn, I came across one of your posts and I was like, wow, this woman is so elegant, so classy. She has it all together. So admire you. I thought you were completely out of my league. And then I went on to your free masterclass and I just fell in love with you, and then reached out and made an invitation to come into my world, and you said yes. And I remember contacting Amy and going, oh my God, Amy, you're not going to believe who's coming to a meeting. It's Annette. And she was like, yes, of course, because she is one of the most unapologetic women around. So why wouldn't she? So thank you so much for being on this podcast today. I am so excited to have this conversation with you, and for other women to meet you and experience you as well.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So let's start where I always start. What does it mean for you to be an unapologetic woman?
I would say it is for me personally to truly honor the gifts that I've been given. And I believe my gifts come from God. It is to honor my personal values and, and really a respect for myself. And I can't say it was always that way, but just as I'm going through life, it's, that saying of you got to love yourself. And that's like, what do you mean love yourself? And I don't know, I guess I've just been on a journey in life of that whole of respecting who I am and the gifts that have been given to me and what I'm good at and what I love giving to others, and not apologizing because that's what I do, or because I feel powerful, or because I feel comfortable in my own skin and I know what colors I like to wear. And people tell me, or I have been told, oh, you're always so dressed up. And I remember at one time feeling, why do people say that? And I finally came to this place that one of my values is excellence. And a person of excellence does do things in a certain way. And I'm not going to deny that I don't have some perfectionism in me and I have this high standard. I always have. But it's just it's honoring me. I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not. I'm not trying to be better. It's just like, I believe God made me like this and I'm okay with it.
I
Yeah.
love that. I talk often about my journey to discovering self-love, love for self, love of self, which then connected me to love, which then connected me to, well, basically loving all, which was an interesting journey for me. And a lot of it came down to self-respect. And I almost feel like self-respect is being undervalued in society because it's making the self sacred again and making the self live in integrity because
Yes.
we value ourselves so much. And then people seem to have this idea that if I respect myself and value myself, it means that I disvalue others. But it's not been my experience. My experience has been it's an upliftment, simultaneous upliftment of self and others. How do you experience it?
It's interesting. I know that came out for me. Probably it was through some journaling. Um, I'm going to say it was even in 2020. That word of self-respect came. I believe that everything that we do in life, that we can't give to others what we don't give to ourselves. I've always believed that. So the more love we give to ourselves, the more self-respect we give to ourselves, the more that we honor who we are, is I can then encourage others to do the same. And I believe it really lifts them in a way. So it's not one, I don't believe it's one or the other.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. And I love how you say you can't give to another what you can't give to yourself. And that's a hard pill to swallow when you don't treat yourself very well, especially when we have the whole martyrdom psychology that majority of us were raised in, especially as women, when we martyr ourselves because we want to give more to other people, put them first, put our kids' needs first, put our partner's needs first, put our friends' needs first, whilst we are running on empty. And when I really remembered that if I'm running on empty, I might think that I'm loving to other people, but is it really loving to others to give the worst of ourselves? And let's be honest, we can't give the best to us of ourselves if we don't give the best to ourselves.
Yes. So my husband is the one who uses this metaphor. I'll never forget it, and he still talks about it to this day. When my son, so I have two sons, and they're adult now, and we were in this like toddler group. And there was this psychologist, children's psychologist. So they had an educational piece of this. It was like a mom and me kind of thing. And this woman came and she was talking about, and I think she called it the love cup. And she talked about, as parents, young parents, how you give to your child, oh my gosh, they had a meltdown in the store, and then they did this, and then they did that. And all of a sudden, your husband comes home and your love cup is about this full. And it was the whole metaphor on how you've got to continue to fill your love cup. And so, it's interesting. I was one of those moms, and I know that, what does this have to do with style? But it has to do with my values of, I honored myself when I was a very young mother. Most mothers say, oh, I haven't taken a shower in 5 days. And my child, I can't take a shower. I'm like, well, I do it. Like when I had babies, I still got up and felt good about myself. So this isn't like I decided, oh, I'm going to be an image consultant and stylist. It's like, this has been part of me always. So I always wanted to look good. I mean, it probably wasn't this, 30 years ago, but still it was important to
Yeah.
show up as my best self, as a mother, as a wife, as a businesswoman, for my clients, whatever that might be.
I want to go there. And I know that this is going to be, interestingly enough, a very controversial topic, um, and probably bring up a lot for a lot of the listeners, in terms of our style and showing up dressed and unapologetically being well presented. And the reasons why I say it's controversial. So this is really interesting because style is one of those things, like excellence, like greatness, that we are preached to have, and yet it's also been demonized almost by the masses. No, I don't have to get dressed up, and there's a rebellion against all of these values and concepts. And again, we're honoring everybody on their own journey, and you get to have your own values. But two things come to mind for me. One was when I actually employed an image consultant way back in South Africa, and she went through my wardrobe and she asked me, well, what is your style? And I said, well, my style is comfortable. And she goes, honey, that's not a style. And she emptied out 90% of my closet because it was comfortable stuff that looked really horrible on me and really didn't do anything for me. And from that moment on, I really paid attention to how I was dressing and being very well put together. And then I moved into a rural area in a different country. And all of a sudden, I listened to the women criticize, bitch about, being really negative and gossiping about well-dressed women. And who does she think she is? And she's so la-di-da, and all of these horrible things. And I dressed down again. I'd like to have a conversation about this dichotomy of stylish, but then almost making it a bad thing when a woman is exceptionally well dressed all of the time. I'd love your thoughts on this.
I I'm going to say one thought, or I'm going to say a few thoughts just to start out with. I personally, and I'm going to be super honest, I don't have a thought or a value that everybody needs to dress in a certain way. I don't. I realize that everybody values how they show up in a different way. I realize that. And there's some people that comfort, approachability, that's their thing. And comfort, or excuse me, style is like, that is like the last on the burner. And so I'll be right now, I'm not trying to change them. I'm not trying to change them. I tend to work with that woman who does value who she is and values and realize she's kind of slipped back. So I think there's that camp that she realizes, wow, at one time I value myself, and she looks in the mirror and she's like, wow, I'm like intelligent, I'm a savvy woman, I'm successful, and I'm not feeling it on the outside. I'm not feeling aligned because I am amazing, but it's not looking on the outside. So I think there's that camp, and she's just kind of lost her way. And much of that, I think, happens with our outside influence, like what you were just talking about, that you start hanging out with women who really dress down. So then what's going to happen is, if you do dress up, you're going to really stand out like a sore thumb, and you want to feel accepted and you don't want to stand out. So you do start kind of shrinking back. Mm-hmm. I think that happens a lot. I live in Seattle, Washington. It's become a very tech city. And I'll just give you an example of a client who, she worked in California for a law firm. So she was in that arena. And then she came to Seattle. She worked for a tech firm. She realized, oh my God, I'm so overdressed. The tech industry is not dressing like the law firm that I was working for. So she realized, she's like, oh, I don't want to stand out like a sore thumb. I want to fit in. So that starts happening a lot. Then I also think there is the woman who, I'm breathing here, I don't think she's ever really had it modeled to her. She didn't have a mother. She didn't have women around her that showed her how to put makeup on, that showed her how to do her hair, that showed her how to put an outfit together. And so her default is, a pair of sweatpants and a pair of sneakers, and clothing doesn't matter. She's been taught that her intelligence is way more important than her dress. And so she's growing up hearing that. And so I like to talk about a woman as, it's really the whole you. You are smart, you are intelligent, and I believe that you can't deny how you look in the mirror and how you feel about yourself, that there is a correlation on how you feel about yourself when you look in the mirror and how you go out into the world. I think it's a human correlation that's hard to deny. Why do women go shopping? So they can feel better. I feel like crap. I need to go shopping. I mean, women do that. It's kind of this thing in our head that goes on. So when I say I'm not trying to change women and say you have to do this, I am saying there's an awareness about if we start taking control of I'm going to say our bodies. In fact, I just watched, I'm going to go off a little bit here. I just watched it was a Netflix documentary, and it was about a therapist was telling his story. And he realized when he got into the industry, and this man now is like 76 years old, that there was a flaw as therapists on how to help people. And he did this, gave this tool, and says, okay, I want you to draw a triangle. And at the bottom of that triangle is your relationship with your body. And it's your exercise, it's your sleep, it's how you eat. The next is your relationship with people. And your next, at the very top rung, was your relationship with yourself. And he said, he called it the life force. And he said that you have control over that. You have control over this triangle that you can change in an instant. And I believe that clothes do that. Mm-hmm. I know that they do. And so it's kind of helping women to work through that process and to see the significance. I've always said, I'm not here to help you just dress in a pretty dress, but to really find that significance of, why do you want to buy this dress? Well, it brings out my excellence. I want to feel beautiful. I want to feel creative. I want to feel innovative. And how do we do that with your dress? And that's what I really bring to women, is how do we take those inner talents and that inner beauty and who you already are, and how do we align that with your outside? So I don't know if I went off on a tangent here, but there's just that depth that I like to help women understand of what clothing does for you.
I love that. And it is about dropping the judgment against that and understanding, again, it's just a tool. Like, we have so many of these amazing tools of self-expression in the world. And for me, that's what clothes are. It's just a tool of self-expression of who I choose to be today. And it's not even about how I'm presenting myself to other people, it's how I'm presenting myself to myself. Because one of the things you talked about was when you look in the mirror. And I remember a very specific day that I went out in tracksuit pants with a really baggy tracksuit top that was very old, no makeup, hair was down in a pony, wasn't washed or anything. And I walked towards an elevator and the doors closed and it had these mirror doors. And I saw myself in the mirror and I was like, oh my God, I look like a bag lady. And this is how I'm going out in public. Like, really? It hit me hard. And it wasn't about how other people see me, it's the thought of how I experienced myself in the moment.
And, I think that comes back to self-respect. And, I think one of the things I'm really cognizant of is how women talk about themselves. I mean, when you go to your closet, you go, oh my God, it stresses me out, or oh my God, all my clothes make me feel frumpy, or oh my God, I feel like a bag lady. And we know that what you talk about, you bring about, and we fill our mind with those words. And that's how we start walking out into the world and experiencing life. And so it is a tool. I mean, it really is a tool of expressing ourselves, honoring ourselves, feeling, honoring our authenticity. And I think a lot of women, I mean, I can't even tell you how many women will say, Annette, help me to show up authentic, but they don't even know what authentic is to them. And so I start with, I call it the power of you. And it's like this whole session with pulling that out. And the minute that they can start seeing their own self-beauty, everything changes. Everything changes how they see themselves. All of a sudden, they can't wait to get dressed. All of a sudden, shopping is fun. Before, when they've said, I hate to shop, there is everything, the whole attitude changes. And it's not about being a fashionista. It's not about couture. It's none of that. It's a self-respect for who you are.
One of the pieces I want to bring into the conversation is around shaming and self-shaming, and just understanding that we are not coming from a space of shame and we're not coming from a space of shaming. Because I know for myself, shame was the thing that kept me from reaching out for support. I was a very successful professional woman. I have an extraordinarily strong personality. And so from that stance, you kind of have this idea that, of course, I should know how to get dressed. And of course, I should know how to show up and all of these things. And oh my God, how could I have let myself slip down to this? Like, that was a wake up moment for me as well at one stage of, I used to be so well groomed and now look at me after having babies and but it creeps in. How do you support women who are professionally successful and wake up in the morning and kind of go, oh, I've let it slip. I'm not too sure how to get back. But there's this sense of shame in even acknowledging that to yourself, never mind to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to be honest. I think it depends on where the woman is. I mean, I really think that, and I've worked with somebody that she came to me too soon. She needed to work through some issues with her weight. And I think she thought she was ready, but it really was too early. So there are women that I do believe that they need to work on some personal before they can to really invest highly in their wardrobe. But then on the other end, it can be a stepping stone. So I think there's kind of both, but a stepping stone of even just going into your closet and acknowledging none of these clothes fit anymore. Because women can get into this where I have a closet full of clothes and there might be 3 or 4 sizes in there. And you have to first be honest with yourself. So to stop shaming yourself, take all those things out that don't work, and let's start with what does work. And so the whole fit, that's a biggie. That's even a biggie about our bodies. And because I believe that every woman has at least 2 or 3 or 4 pieces in her wardrobe that she loves. Could be, I'm looking at your background. It could be a fabulous pair of shoes that she goes, I feel so amazing in these shoes. Okay, let's start with these shoes. Let's get some amazing, trousers or jeans to wear with these shoes. So start, you know what? Sometimes it's just baby steps. Let's see what you already have, and then we'll start figuring out those missing gaps of how we can start, designing your signature wardrobe.
I love that. I want to take this conversation somewhere else because of the comment of the shoes. I love those shoes. My body does not want to wear those shoes anymore.
Okay.
As hitting 50, my lower back and my knees, when I put on heels that size, just kind of goes, I don't think so, girlfriend. You've got 2 minutes in these shoes and then you have to take them off. And I couldn't get it over my heart to get rid of them, which is why they now form part of my interior design.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
And I turned 50 last year and found that I really had to reassess my style and who I am as a woman and how I wanted that reflected in my style. And now I have this thought sometimes of, oh, I can't wear that anymore. I'm too old for that, but I still rock it. Can we talk into that? Do you have a system or a belief or a philosophy of a changing of style as we grow older?
Do you know, I'm going to tell you, I don't. And I start my guiding principle is I believe that style begins with the woman, and I'm not talking about age. Style begins with the woman and not the clothes. And so I believe that you are a strong, vivacious, powerhouse woman, and you always were. And so why do we think we have to start taking that away in our clothes? Now, what I do go with is, as we get older, we aren't adopting those really high trend, like, okay, the short crop top. Like, you know what? That's not for a 50, 60-year-old woman. I'm just saying that. But can you still wear those shoes? Absolutely. Can you still rock? Here I am in my, my bright fuchsia pink. Does it mean that you have to start wearing neutrals? I mean, you will see that on the internet, but I just don't believe it. I mean, I think there's the extremes of these, what the 20-year-old is wearing as a trend should not be what a 50-year-old is wearing at a trend. I think that 50-year-old is looking like she's trying to be like she's 20, or she's trying to be like her daughter. Her daughter wears it, so why can't I? So I guess I have kind of that, but I really, when I start working with women, it's about what's on the inside. Are you this passionate woman? Are you a powerful woman? You have this vitality about you. Do you have this creativeness about you? What is it about you that we need to bring on the outside? And it can look very different for every single person. So that piece of that authentic personality is never diminished.
Yes. So let's go to one of my favorite clothing items, and I want to go there because I was commenting before we started the recording on one of your YouTube videos. And for the ladies who's listening, you know, Annette has an amazing YouTube channel. You definitely want to go and subscribe to that. And I'll put the link down in the description as well. But you were talking about it, jeans, and my brain went, I can't picture Annette in a jeans. Like, my brain could not compute for the life of me seeing you in a pair of jeans. Why do I have that concept of you, and why is it wrong? And because I know, here's my thing though, when I became aware of that block on you, my first thought was, what are the blocks I'm having on myself of things that I don't even try on because I can't imagine myself wearing that? So taking it out of the game for myself.
I think a lot of women kind of put themselves in a box and say, oh, this is my style. Like, I wear cardigan sweaters. That's my thing. I don't wear jackets. Or I've had women sit in front of me and they'll go, oh no, my mom told me, you know what, I can't wear that bright pink, you know what, that or that yellow because it makes my skin look sallow. Or somebody in your past possibly has told you, like, what are you wearing that for? They almost kind of look at you like you're this, like, what are you doing, right? Like, who do you think you are to wear that? And I think a lot of times when we get that response from people, it's because they would never wear it. Like, they would never wear it. And so they look at it. And so one of the things I always say is be careful about shopping with your girlfriends. And it can kind of go two different ways. Is they try to interject their personal style on you, and it's so not you. I've had this many, like this, I remember this one gal, she's like, I went shopping with my fashionista girlfriend. She's so good at it. And I don't like this. I came home and I don't like it. And I said, well, because it was her. She liked it. So you can get that side, but you can also get somebody has said something to you like seriously, I can't believe you're wearing that. I have this little story about faux fur. Is I had decided, and I think it was, I do have a video on it, or I have a blog post on it, and it's called the Sassy Red Fur Coat. And that year, I think it was 2018, yeah, I think it was. And you know how we have a word of the year? And my word of the year was bold that year. And I was shopping with my husband, which I never do, but this was at Christmas. We were downtown Seattle, and I saw this red faux fur coat at Zara. And I remember trying it on, and I went in front of the mirror, and I can remember my husband looking at me and going, whoa, like, that is bright. And I can remember going, oh, you're right. And I took it off, and I thought, oh yeah, you're right. So we get people who do stuff like that, and I put it back on the rack, and I go, yeah, I really need something a little bit more neutral. I wanted cream, or I wanted a gray, a really pretty gray. Couldn't find anything, and I just walked away. I couldn't stop thinking about that red fur coat. And I went home and ordered it. This was before online shopping was big. And I have that red faux fur coat. And I get people who either like go like this, but you know what? Again, you know, being unapologetic, it's like that. I'll be honest, when I first got it, it wasn't comfortable for me. I was going to be noticed. And this is another piece of women not giving themselves permission to wear certain things because you will be noticed. And that's scary for a lot of women. So now I rock that coat. But when I first got it, it was scary.
I have a coat like that. It's not red, but it's also faux fur. And when I put it on, I feel like $1,000,000. but I also get the attention of $1,000,000.
And you got to be ready for it.
You have to be ready for it. I had to grow into the coat,
Yep.
but I
Yep.
bought the coat and then grew into it.
Yep. And
So,
that's a cool thing to do. I mean, that's about your self-image. Is if you see, sometimes you have to buy that, let it sit, bring it home, and you know you love it. Have it sit on the rack and look at it and try it on and go, I'm going to be wearing that. That's going to be aligned who I am from the inside out. That is a great self-image little exercise to do. Absolutely.
I love that. I might have to make more of those purchases. Now, as always, this conversation can go on for another hour, and I do need to wrap it up for our listeners.
Yeah.
What do you take an unapologetic stand for in this world?
Honoring me, honoring who I am, not waiting for somebody else to give me the permission that I can show up in that, red faux fur coat. I mean, I just sit, I don't know. I have this philosophy that life is short and there's so many things that women won't do because they are so scared of what others will think. And this is something that I stand really strong in, of really that feel the fear and do it anyways. And I'm not trying to impress you. I'm not trying to get your permission. If I feel in it, that self-respect integral to myself, I don't need your permission to show up as my best self.
Yes, I love all of that. Where do people connect with you? Where's the best platform for them to connect with you, Annette?
I'm going to send them to my website, AnnetteBond.com. I mean, I am, as you said, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. I do on AnnetteBond.com, and I know you're going to see this backwards, but I have a free style guide. It's called Get Style Confident Now, and kind of taking you through a very simple 3-step process of how do you start stepping in to that real authentic you. So, and that's in that style guide.
I love that. I will definitely put those links down below for everybody. And also, if your masterclass is running at the time of people listening, I highly recommend it. Honestly, it's such an amazing investment of your time. I walked away with my words, which is vivacious, and that's already infiltrated in so many areas of my life, not just my wardrobe. So much gratitude for that, Annette. It was an astounding workshop. I can't say enough.
I love that. And I do have one coming up, and it'll be something that I'm doing on a regular basis, a personal style masterclass. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, honey, thank you so much for this conversation. I'm looking forward to the next one. I might have to do like a quarterly one of getting all the guests on for the season and just having one big chin wag. Who knows? That might just happen. And for all the ladies who joined us today, thank you so much for your valuable time. I hope that you are taking away from this that truly your sense of style is your permission slip to self to express yourself without using your words. And if that is the one thing you take away from this conversation, how amazing would that be? We look forward to the next conversation. And until then, remember, we get to live our legacies unleashed, unlimited, and unafraid. Have an amazing day further. Cheers.